Hi,
Hey, what's going on?
good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Yeah, where do I start? I'm
Why don't you?
Flo. You can call me Flo.
Perfect, bro.
We've we've talked before. I was on one of your porn addiction streams a while back,
Ah, good to see you again,
and
Flo.
thank you. Good to speak to you again. Um, so my age is 22, and I'm a software engineer in Germany.
hmm
And my question was, how do I tell my parents that I was suicidal as a kid and that I'm currently fighting depression, basically without hurting them or blaming them for like what happened to me. Um,
Do you blame them for what happened to you?
I think that yeah, a part of my how I was brought up definitely plays a role in it. Like yeah, I blame them. I mean, like I see them as flawed people, but I think some of their actions, yeah, made me who I am. I think if that makes
Uh,
sense.
so okay.
If
Um,
you want, I can give you like a background.
okay. So I do want a background, but just in a moment. Are you watching stream?
I closed it.
Good. Give me just one moment, okay?
Sure.
Okay. So why don't you tell me a little bit about um, what? So help me understand a little bit about you want to talk to your family about you want to share your you want to tell your parents that you're suicidal and you're depressed,
Yeah.
right? And you're having difficult, but you want to share it in a way that prevents them from feeling blamed.
Yes.
um
So go ahead.
uh-huh yeah, so tell me a little bit more.
So basically, um, so my family situation, parents are still together. I have a sister, an older one, and um, my parents weren't really like an emotional support when I grew up. So they were like really distant. We never talked about how we felt. Um, and they would usually like show their love through like financial support.
Okay.
And um, like my mom is like pretty dominant and actually thinks like that people that go and do therapy are basically crazy and um, that it's pretty uncommon to go to therapy. So she has like a strong
hmm
bias about that. And my dad is like a lot more approachable, but very passive. And um, basically, I never shared that I am in therapy with them or that I was depressed um, because I'm afraid of their reaction. And um, they found out a while ago that my sister is in therapy, and their reaction was kind of scary as well. Like, first of all, they're really confused what happened to her or why she is in therapy because she's so distant that she doesn't want to talk about it. And um, now I feel like this might be the right time to open up to them. And although we never talk about emotions, like, um, yeah, just kind of, I kind of want some relief from being able to tell them how I really feel. If they ask me, like we meet from times to times, we don't live together anymore. And if they ask me how I'm doing, I'm not telling them if I had like a really bad day, for
hmm
example. So
and why don't you tell them that you have a bad day?
um, because it would usually lead into I had like lots of anxiety today, and I'm working on XYZ through my therapy, and then I would just open up like the
Yeah.
whole thing.
So what I'm hearing is that you and by the way, just to clarify, are we showing your face or not? Because I know you're on a video call.
I However you want. I don't mind.
Okay, let me just go to our interview screen then. Okay. So
Sure.
um so are we showing faces? Someone else joined the channel, but I don't know who.
Yeah,
Anyway.
French.
Wait. Can they hear the ping? I'm sorry.
Yeah, they can. It's okay though. I mean, I guess I have the notification on. It's okay. Um, so Flo, let's just think a little bit about. So on the one hand, this is what I'm hearing. The first thing is that you've been struggling with some of these issues of depression and suicidality for a while. It sounds like your parents won't be very open to hearing that. And so what I'm hearing is that you're essentially carrying this burden kind of on your own. And it's not that you expect your parents to really fix it for you, but that you're afraid of their judgment. And I think that, the people that we love, we just, we want them to support us, even if it's not like in a big way, like at least emotionally. I mean, you want to tell your parents what you're going through, but you're afraid of how they're going to react. So you're not, and this is where things get really tricky because like, not only are you trying to, avoid their judgment, but there's also a part of you that is, afraid that they did have some role in it and that they won't respond very well to like that idea is what I'm hearing. So in a
Yeah.
weird way, you're almost kind of protecting them by keeping it from them, but you're carrying an extra heavy burden because of that in a weird way. Does that make sense?
Yes, that yeah applies. That makes
So
sense.
There are a couple of principles at play here, but first I'm going to just answer your question and then I'm going to share one or two principles, okay?
Mhm.
So I think the way that you tell them is just like that. So you just say, "Mom, Dad, I just, there's a part of my life that I haven't really shared with you very much because I've been afraid of your judgment. And, I was suicidal when I was younger and I've been struggling with depression a lot like my sister for a couple of years now, and I just wanted y'all to know."
Mhm.
Now, there are a couple of important pieces there. So, one is like your expectation about the conversation is going to be a lot of your suffering. Okay, so
Yeah.
you know who your parents are, and it can be sad, but try to let go of that expectation. And, I do think that it is possible to get to a place where your parents can support you. And I think the most important part is the next part, which is that the first conversation shouldn't be one where you're sharing a lot of information. It should be one where you're asking a few questions if you can manage it. And I would start with the question, what's your understanding of what depression is? Like when I say that I was suicidal and I've been depressed for years, like what does that mean to you?
Mhm.
And listen to what they have to say. And be aware that, part of their defensiveness may be a sense of blame. Like they may be like blaming themselves and their ego arises in response to that. So like, I know it's really hard, but I don't know that they're going to be in a place to listen. It just sort of depends. But if you're wondering how you have that first conversation, I think being honest about it, being simple, like it's like one or two sentences. It's not a whole lot of explanation. It's not a whole lot of
Yeah.
excuses. It's not a whole lot of it's not your fault, where really they do have something like, you can get down that road later. But I'd say, 2 or 3 sentences, and then what does that mean to you? And then really listen to them.
I
How
think
does that
that's
sound?
yeah. I think it sounds good. It sounds like I didn't think about kind of asking them for their understanding of what I'm going through. So, but yeah, like you said something about expectation, which is like my expectation right now is that they really don't know what depression really is. Like they have like not a lot of knowledge about mental health in general.
Yeah.
So and I got that impression as well from seeing their reaction to finding out that my sister is in therapy. So yeah, so I gotta let go of the expectation.
Yeah,
makes
so
sense.
but let's talk about the expectation for a second. What do you feel? Like, how do you feel knowing that they're not going to respond to you, or imagining they won't respond to you with like support?
That's really hard. It kind of adds to the general sense I have when I'm with my parents, which is lots of times like feeling worthless. So it's like such a big step to tell them about it, and if they don't care, then or they like I know that my mom for a fact will tell me that there's probably something wrong with me, and I have caused my suffering, which is true to some extent, but kind of not what you want to hear in that situation. So it's
Yep.
yeah, it's just feel really sad right now thinking about it because it's like they don't care.
Yep. I know exactly how you feel, man. I think it can be really, really challenging. And so what we're going to try to do is like, so this is where Flo, I think, so it sounds like you do have a therapist, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think, you should definitely lean on them. But I think there are a couple things that I want to kind of share with you. One is that, so it's that attitude. So somewhere along the way, you were sort of taught that you're to blame.
Yeah.
Right. So if we look at it's I'm going to just take a step back and explain something. So Sigmund Freud conceptualized depression as anger turned against the self. And so you blame yourself for everything. Like, your mom, and like, if we think about where did you learn how to blame yourself? Like, unfortunately, a lot of times we learn from our parents. And
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was on like the Healthy Gamer coaching, like the free coaching for a while, and it's something that I talked to Adam about a lot. And he actually asked me like, what did your parents tell you that could lead to the self-worth that you have right now? And something they always told me was basically, since growing up, like when you were born, we had to move out of our bedroom in order to make place for you. And like, this is not your bedroom, it's ours, but we made space for you. So I was kind of already blamed for being born because I was already a burden for them because they had to leave their room. So yeah, that stuff's deep.
It does go deep. And what I'm hearing is that even in this conversation, you're taking over a part of their peaceful mental household too. Yeah. They have this beautiful house built in their head of what their life is like and what their children's life is like, and it's pretty and perfect, and you're occupying the space that you're supposed to occupy. And by telling them this, what you're going to do is move into their spare bedroom. That wasn't the life that they built, right? And how does it feel to
Go ahead,
take space that isn't yours?
Feels really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So what I want you to understand, so now comes the good part, but also the hard part, is that Flo, these thoughts that you have are like, they're like a parrot that is just repeating what it's heard, right? These are your parents' thoughts. They're not actually a measure of your value. Like, they're not, they're not true. They're just like echoes. And so I think that process, and this is where, if we want to be a little bit forgiving, so I think one way to move forward here is to forgive. But in order to forgive, you have to blame them first. Right? And this is where the tricky part comes in. Whereas, like, if you can never move past it, if it's not like, if you don't blame them, you can't forgive them. Because I certainly did a number on you. I think everyone's aware of that.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying you have to forgive them right away, but I think that, like, if you say they don't understand mental health and stuff, like, understand that their response to you, sure, there's some stuff that, we can blame them for, but some of that is like they may just not understand mental health. And so I think the first conversation is sort of like a conversation about, hey, here's what I'm going through. What's your understanding of it? Because in your mind, a lot of the fears that you have are fair. A lot of the blame that you have is fair. A lot of the ways that they make you feel like you don't belong here, right? So I'm imagining that you're pulling them into a conversation where they don't want to be, and you're kind of inconveniencing them by having it. So there's all of that, which is like a samskar. And then there's also the mental health stigma, which is actually has nothing to do with you and nothing to do with them. It's just if they haven't learned it. And so you're going to be fighting two battles. One is sort of a more traditional one, and one is like this mental health stigma battle. And this is where I encourage you to, lean on your therapist, lean on us. Welcome back. It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
And we're here to help you. And you have a lot of people in your life who do care about you, who want you to be here, who enjoy seeing you. I love to see you again. I think it's fantastic that you're back. I wish, at some point I'd like to talk about happier things, but I'm more than happy to talk about this right now because we meet people where they're at, right? And what you've got to do is meet your parents where they're at. It's hard, man. I'm
Makes
sorry.
sense. Yeah, it's I just really hope that I'll feel at least some relief.
So my hope is that the relief that you're going to feel is one of like detachment, where you can't really control the people that they are. You can just take the first step of the journey. Like, just because the journey isn't going to wind up where you want it to go doesn't mean that you shouldn't take that first step. And what I want you to do is take that first step and, like, it's going to be a step in the right direction. It may not go the way that you want to. And you hopefully still have, years, if not a decade or two, to get to a place where you can educate your parents and they can support you. And hopefully you can kind of come out of that depression a little bit and explain to them. So take the first step, even though it sounds really scary. Sounds like it's meeting your samskar head on.
Yeah, I kind of decided to talk to my dad first because I think he is a lot more approachable with that. So he'll come over tomorrow. So it's
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good luck to you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Hope to hear again. Keep us posted.